Phew, I got out of bed. Okay, what? I feel like this is gonna happen for the next couple of days. More Ghost! Also, yes, I know the ironic scene. The next couple of videos will be Ghost. Just after Halloween. This wasn't planned, I swear. But yeah. BBC Ghosts. Which, this is the season that the previous season that just passed. And I do think I do like it and I am excited. There's a couple episodes. There's a lot of episodes that I love in this. Again, this sort of looks at it and then looks at the business sort of, because I think they sort of set up the business at series 2. So I think after, because series 1 they still are setting up their sort of business. And then season 2, including the whole arc, like I said, with the assistant, getting him involved with all of that stuff. That sort of has the business be a business, rather than I'll just hold it to that. But yeah, that is just one of the things that I feel like is a bit different. And through season 3, you can see it even more becoming a business, independent, without any third person help. There's a couple of episodes I want to get into, so. But yeah, the other thing is obviously the business is thriving, which the US did, but after one incident, it's sort of like, because it could do the same, like after a specific incident, it goes down and then goes back up, which could be where they maybe be going. My watch too tight. Again, like all things, I always forget to loosen this. But yeah, that could be where they're going, but I don't think so. But I do think this is really interesting. Also, let me just check something. I always just mess up sound. And always just give me a sec. But yeah, there's a lot that you get. The story with, like, sort of like Ghost following a human, which I like as an idea. I really do. The whole idea with one person following another is really interesting. And then you have Trevor's brother's story, which deals with, like, the brother dealing with this sort of, like, because you had a similar one with his sort of, like, death and the story around his death. Yeah. Jay. Not Jay. Yeah. So yeah. I don't know which one the story was, but I know that one of his friends came around. I think it might have been even in season 1. And came around during the time, and this one has another one of the stories. Again, there's some stories I do like through this. Including the silent partner, because it shows that Trevor can still invest in stocks. Which, if that's the case, if I can see Ghost, and I have a Wall Street person who's currently haunting my house, so what stocks do you think? Like, what you're opening a business and you have Wolf of Wall Street haunting it at all times. Now, what investments do you think I should take? Because, like, yes, he's probably out of date and doesn't know the latest blockbuster, but I opened the newest stock exchange, and you can probably, like, find out, like, oh, you can do this and you can do that. There's probably, like, some illegal things, but that, you could do that, because he's recent. I think he's, like, 2009, so he's not, like, I don't know the laws have changed that much. Put it in the comments if it has. You also have The Wedding, which big, because that is a gay wedding, which seeing more representation of that is always a bonus. That is all. That is all. That is just an amazing thing to be like. Also, there's other thing, but I'm going to talk about the last episode, like, was the idea that, like, as Pete, who was a travel agent, can walk outside his sort of area, which, I don't know if that's because he's a travel agent, or because he was so stuck in his ways, that, because the one thing I don't get, I think I mentioned this during the first one, is that in this, the BBC goes, and who's the other one? Let's look at this. Because you have Pete. And then, obviously, you have the UK counterpart. Which, what's his name? Pat. Pete and Pat. Which are two common names, I think, during the 60s and 80s in their respective countries. I don't know. But one of the things that I like is that Pete, yeah, is a person who was fairly nonchalant, does what he wants. But he was sort of grounded. He sort of didn't really do a lot. Compared to Pat, who someone was like, oh, should we go off script? And he's like, oh, that's this night. That's that night. Let's plan our dinners with this specific meal at this specific day. Which makes Pat's scenario still tragic that, like, he got cheated on, because cheating is never a thing that you should promote. But with Pete, you can kind of have that more sadness of he just didn't do a lot. Yeah, so did Pat, but Pat specifically was like, someone suggested change, and he was like, this. Maybe Pete's the same, I don't know. He hasn't shown this. It's also the worst thing, because if I'm correct, his wife, after season 2, is stuck there. Which is not great, and will be horrifying. So, yeah. That was one of the things that, again, this is long, because I do think this series is good, and I do compare this to the UK one because they have a lot of similarities. And also the plot twist, Isaac disappears into the wall, and like, how are we gonna find him back? How are we gonna solve this? Because someone else disappeared, and then all of that happened, and it's really interesting how that happens. And I absolutely 100% think this is really interesting and enjoy this. And I absolutely love the idea. So yeah, like I said, BBC Ghost, not BBC Ghost, I think it's CBS that this was originally aired, which I don't know if CBS is owned by BBC. But it's really good. CBS is not official. Is owned by Paramount Global. Oh, I didn't know that. And not BBC. That's interesting. And then why is it on BBC? I don't know. Because it says season 4 will be on BBC. But yeah, I do think it's really good. It's really enjoyable. And definitely has great characters overall. So yeah, I definitely recommend for you to watch. So I definitely 100% recommend for you to... I definitely hope you enjoyed, hope you liked. Comment this video, and good night. Bentley.